Okay friends, it's time to get started. Let's come right over to our negative battery terminal, use an 8mm wrench, and remove the terminal from the battery. Once that's separated, we can continue. Now the next thing you're going to want to do is have a look at the front of your engine. This is the area where your serpentine belt is. You want to pay attention to the routing. There's going to be pulleys that the belt comes up and over, but there's also going to be smooth pulleys that the backing of the belt goes up against. So just take a quick note of that. We also have a sticker located on your coolant reservoir, which will essentially let you know exactly how the belt routing is supposed to be. Let's get our 3/8 drive inside here. We'll turn this counterclockwise a little bit. That relieves tension from the belt. Carefully go ahead and pull it right off. Now we'll relieve the tension here again, get our tool out of the way. Okay, so now that we have it off, let's just carefully take a look at that serpentine belt. Now you want to inspect the rib side here. We're looking for any dry rot or cracks. As you can tell on this particular belt, it should be replaced. This is in poor condition. For the purpose of this video, I'm just going to go ahead and set this aside. Just keep in mind that this one should be replaced. Alright, so now that I have the belt off of there, the next thing that I always like to do is just go ahead and get this right out of the way. So to start, let's come right over to our mass airflow sensor. I'm going to go ahead and grab onto this red tab, draw it away. Once it's unlocked, we can go ahead and press in on this center tab right here, and then remove this from the area. Inspect it, set it aside. Right here, there's a mounting point. Let's go ahead and lift up on this. Now we'll make our way to this hose right here. If you were to twist this a little bit, you're going to be able to find a little green tab. Just go ahead and pull up on that tab like this, and then gently pull this off. Inspect that as well, set it aside. Now we can move down along to the air filter housing here. You're going to find 2 mounting clips. Go ahead and pop those right off of there. We'll grab onto this, slide it out of its lower box. Now we're going to come up to this area right here, use an 8mm to loosen this clamp, and we can get this right out of the way. Now since I have all that apart, let's go ahead and grab onto this air filter. You want to make sure that no dirt falls on this area here. Just go ahead and turn it over, inspect it, make sure it still looks like it's in good condition. This one right here needs to be replaced, but that's a story for another day. Now let's move along to disconnecting our wiring. This is going to be easiest using a small pocket screwdriver or even a pick. I'm going to carefully try to get in between this area right there, gently pry without breaking anything, and then we'll carefully lift this up. Every time you disconnect an electrical connector, inspect it. If you see any funny colors, it's corrosion and it needs to be dealt with. Let's continue on to this one right here. This one's a little bit harder to get to. I'm going to use a curved pick. Try to get underneath the ear for this. Grab this boot. Now this right here is a power wire. If you did not disconnect your battery for some reason, you do not want to remove this. Let's go ahead and remove this right now. Let's use a 10mm to remove this nut. Grab that wire, inspect it, set all this aside. With all the wiring out of the way, let's continue on to our 3 13mm headed mounting bolts. You'll have 1 up top and 2 located a little lower. Let's remove all 3. This one has this bracket on it. You want to make sure that you remember that for the installation process. Hold on to that alternator. Remove all of your mounting bolts. Remove the alternator. There it is, friends. Alright friends, now it's time to install our brand new alternator. Let's carefully take this, we're going to place it down onto the bracket here. Now we're going to go ahead and put on this little bracket here. You don't want to forget about this, otherwise you just got to go ahead and take this back off. Now at this point, we can start in all of our mounting bolts, we'll snug them up, and then we're going to torque each of them to 35 foot-pounds. Now that we have that torqued, let's continue on to our power wire here. It's a good idea to go ahead and turn this over, and you want to make sure you sand this area down so you make a nice positive connection when it comes time to putting it onto the alternator. You can use some sandpaper or whatever you might happen to have. We'll scuff it up, make sure it's clean and free of any debris or even corrosion. Now we can go ahead and put this right on here. We'll start the nut on there, bottom this out, and then we're going to torque this to 71 inch-pounds. Grab this rubber boot, make sure you put it back over to protect this. Now we can continue on to the rest of our wiring. Let's just go ahead and take this one right here. We'll slide it in, listen for a little click. We'll give it a tug, make sure it's secure. Go ahead and do the same for this one here. Press that in, give it a tug as well. Now we're ready to start installing our belt on this. So generally what I like to do is just pretty much have it on as many pulleys as possible. Essentially, I just want to check to make sure I'm sitting inside all my grooves, so you can tell that you have grooves on some of your pulleys. That's where the grooves for your belt is going to be. Now that I've got it on the majority of the pulleys, I'll go ahead and turn this counterclockwise. Slide this right up and into position. Now we can release this, remove our tool, and now you just want to double check everything. Like I said before, you want to make sure that the belt is sitting inside all the grooves. If it seems like it's pushed off to one side, maybe sitting off of one of the pulleys, you could potentially cause some serious damage to your belt. So just double check everything, make sure it's sitting properly, and then we can move along. Now we can put our air filter back in here. Now we can start putting the upper cover on. We're going to have 3 tabs on this upper cover that need to fit into the 3 holes that are in the lower aspect of this. Let's go ahead and get those lined up, slide it in. We'll bring this down a little bit. And now we can start lining this up with the throttle body. Let's press that right on there. You want to make sure that it's completely bottomed out against the throttle body. Now we can tighten up our clamp. Make sure that's nice and tight. You don't want any dirty or unmetered air getting sucked inside the engine. Now we can take our mass airflow sensor wire. We're going to come right in between this area here, bring it around. We'll connect in the mass airflow sensor. Listen for that click, lock it down. Then we're just going to re-secure this wire. Make our way down to this area here so we can latch in our air filter box. Perfect. Now we can go ahead and reconnect our negative battery terminal, press it down all the way against the battery, and then snug it up. Double check to make sure it's tight. Okay friends, we got everything back together. What's left to do now? Now you're going to want to go ahead and start up the truck for approximately 5 seconds. Just let it run, and then we're going to turn it right back off. Get back under the hood here. We're going to double check that belt. You want to make sure that it's sitting on all the grooves properly. After that, take it for a road test.